May Jesus be praised and onward with Mary. Good and holy day to you all, dear children, in the sacred hearts of Jesus and Mary, and in the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph. Welcome back to our morning column, and join us, Saints and Coffee. Today is Tuesday, the 25th of February. We are in the week of 𝐥'𝐸, the week in which more and more quickly we are heading towards the time of Lent, and I hope you've already said a couple of rosaries yourselves, because the morning rosary certainly gives us the strength to face the day. I am traveling after the experience I had, as you know, in Seville, a very beautiful experience that perhaps will produce unexpected fruits, as we hope. We want to immediately express our sympathy and condolences to a family of the little one. The rest, truthfully, I haven't seen them in a while, but they lost their parents, a 19-year-old son who died in a road accident. Perhaps we can show the photo in a few moments for those who might have known him. He actually died just yesterday, and the funeral will be held, if I understood correctly, celebrated by a priest. Of the Marian sacerdotal sodality, I invite you all to pray for the soul of this son, that the Lord may welcome him into paradise. Right? They're very strange things then. His name was Mattia. He died on Saint Mattia's Day. So, you know, Father Celestino is an expert in these things, to put it in slightly ironic terms. It's quite a peculiar thing that this young man who I knew came quite often to the prayer meetings in Emilia-Romagna. Of the small remnant with his family, that is, the whole family would come, and his name is, that is, Mattia. And he died on the feast day yesterday of St. Matthew. He was 19 years old. He died, if I understood correctly, in a road accident. And so, certainly when a son is taken from his family like that, we can imagine what it might provoke in a young man. What's more, tall, strong, well-built, gone from this world forever. It's not as if just because someone makes a mistake on the road, has a moment of distraction and dies, and then there's a wrong moment, they come back. Mattia is never coming back. He's gone forever from this transient reality from which we too will depart, just to remind us that whether good or bad, everyone dies, and speaking of which, indeed, everyone dies. Mattia reminds us with his premature death, if I can put it that way, because a death is never either trivial or premature. He reminds us that we must always be vigilant. We shall pray for his soul, we priests of the sodality. Without a doubt, we commend his blessed soul to the Lord, and we pray to the Most Holy Madonna that her immaculate and sorrowful heart consoles the sorrow, alleviates the pain of Mattia's parents, to whom I have already conveyed, obviously, my support, my closeness, like that of the brothers of the sodality as well. Mattia, may he rest in peace, and your immortal soul. May he be introduced forever into the beatific vision of the divinity. Right? So that was the first thing we wanted to say. Then I would just like to remind you that now, as I return to Italy, an intense month of March is being prepared with the appointments that await us. I would very briefly like to remind you of them. Then gradually we will make them more and more present. Right, let's start on Tuesday, the 4th of March. So next Tuesday. If I remember rightly, yes, next Tuesday in Turin, it's the Feast of the Holy Face of Jesus. Right, the Feast of the Holy Face of Jesus. Today is the 3rd day of the novena, which I recommend you do. You can do it because many have asked how to do it, either by reciting the chaplet that I wrote of the Holy Face of Jesus, which is available, or this other novena that is circulating among the chats of the little remnant, which is also very useful, so you can get it from there, but please do it, it's important. Then on the 4th day, all together, those of us who can, we will be with Father Celestino and me in Turin at 4 p.m. for this moment of grace in which we will celebrate, as Jesus has asked, We will talk about it in the coming days. Obviously, Jesus asked it of the Blessed Pierina de Micheli, beatified by Benedict XVI. In inverted commas, we say the Pope's hands in it in this holy face matter. And I had it spontaneously, because on the day of my baptism it was given to me unusually. Not the crucifix, but I carry the holy face of Jesus on me. So I've always thought that there must be a connection between me and this devotion to the holy face. Then I find out that Benedict XVI, first of all, went a year after the election. But we'll talk about that just to anticipate things that we've already dealt with anyway, but we're in the days leading up to the festival. I was saying, Benedict XVI, 1 year after his election, in September 2006, he went to Manopello. There he is to my right, the holy face of Manopello, which I have invited all the faithful to keep in their homes. Last night, Father Ramon gave his always brilliant and interesting reflection on the point. We thank him for that. He tells us quite interesting things, and it's interesting to see that behind him, he has a testimony, that one as well. The holy face of Manopello. I invite you all to keep it in your homes. It is a garrison against apostasy and against Satan, against the Antichrist, the holy vow of Manopello. Benedict XVI went there because it would seem, from indiscretions, from journalistic moles, that the Pope would have gone to fulfill a vow, because when he saw the orientation of the votes around Bergoglio already in 2005, Cardinal Meissner, the one from Cologne, one of the signatories of the doubts, he would have gone to avert Bergoglio's election to the holy face of Manopello. It's not that far from Rome, so it's believable. He went there because it was necessary, German, and there was a German Jesuit priest, Father Pfeiffer, who wrote and taught at the Gregorian, producing several volumes. And here is the Pope's photo. When Pellegrino went to Manopello, it wasn't by chance that he went there. It was one of the most trips. Everyone chooses. Bergoglio went to Lampedusa to immediately get married, to show everyone that he was the altar boy of the globalist lobbies, pro-immigration, while Benedict XVI leaves. At Manopello, because it would seem that Cardinal Meissner had taken a vow to the Holy Face, asking Jesus to intervene so that he wouldn't be elected. Bergoglio. Benedict was elected, so Meissner, who was also German, therefore with the same nationality as Benedict, apparently told the Pope to go and dissolve the vow. And so, in effect, Pope Benedict, this is a matter of fact that could confirm the hypothesis 1 year after the election. He goes to Manopello. Right, first thing. But another thing I'd like to say is that, and this is proven, it's given under oath. All right, this is given under oath. A friar, you know that the Capuchin friars are there, in Manopello, swore, declared under oath that on the evening of the 22nd of September 1968, while he was going to church for a last greeting, presumably to the holy face of Jesus, which you know is there, placed up there, blessed are the people of Abruzzo, even of the small remnant who have it at home. He found Padre Pio on his knees, who, reciting the rosary that he was praying, there you go, the window is closed, yes, that he was praying. And then the next day, news arrived that he had died. So this friar had seen Padre Pio in bilocation, in prayer. He wasn't seen anywhere else. Padre Pio, in prayer the night before he died, if not in Manopello, there must be a reason. It was another way of saying that the holy face of Jesus is a garrison against Satan. Put it in your house, keep it on you, carry it in your wallet, put it on display these days. The Spanish of the little remnant have done it too. Put the holy face of Jesus and let us adore him. Above all, adore Jesus. So on Tuesday, the 4th of March, we'll meet there in Turin for this moment. And then on Wednesday, the 5th of March, we'll be in Veneto. Between today and tomorrow, I will be able to let you know the location of the meeting. On Sunday, the 9th of March, we will be at Casa Betania. It's the first Sunday of Lent. Presumably, or rather almost certainly, there will be 2 sittings for the celebration of Mass. I'll stick with one group, Fra Celestinos and the others, because a good turnout is expected. Then I'll quickly announce the other appointments. We will make them ever more well known. with care. Thursday, 13th March, is the day we pray for Russia, the 13th each month. We will be in Bergamo. Saturday, the 15th of March in Genoa. Sunday, the 16th of March in Bologna. Saturday, the 22nd of March in Ancona. Sunday, the 23rd of March in Florence. Then there's the Tuesday, 25th March, which is the Annunciation. I didn't make it known. Actually, they escaped me, the 19th of March and the 25th of March. I will make them known to you soon. These are weekdays, but I intend to celebrate even with few of the faithful. Let me know where you want me, because I have these 2 days off. But naturally, contextually, otherwise it all falls apart. Because I am in central Italy, Ancona, Florence, Teramo, between the 22nd and the 29th of March. But we'll have the 19th of March and the 25th of March. The 19th of March is St. Joseph's Day, and the 25th of March is the Annunciation. These were escaping me. I'm only thinking about it now, so I'll let you know. And then Sunday, Saturday, the 29th of March in Teramo, Sunday, the 30th of March in Naples, and finally Saturday, the 5th of April in Bari, and Sunday, the 6th of April or June, there at Mezzaferma. But gradually we will give news, also including these 2 days that had unexpectedly escaped me. That is the 19th of March, Solemnity Feast of St. Joseph with the bread version. It's poisoned, those things there that you remember from last year. All right, let's drop it. One goes with evidence. Yesterday, I said some idiots still follow Minutella show, let them do as they please. For the foul, rude, irreverent language that they have towards God's ministers. But above all, for the lies that I have revealed, I have thwarted their maneuvers. 2-3. The first, when the unfortunate woman who does that showed a photo in the car park of Little Nazareth with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars. It belongs to other people, including the van that belonged to Don Pavel. And I've proven that. So one has to start having some doubts. The second thing, the most sensational, when they invented on Minutella show that I paid Amedeo Minghi with our money. And then I demonstrated that instead he was a benefactor of Rome. What's more, a wretched man, because there are some wretched men called Nino yesterday on the Radio Domino YouTube channel. Ours was commenting, "You're so full of your ego, you're a miserable so-and-so, I feel sorry for the..." And he says, because you had said it. You invited Amedeo Minghi, now what does he say? Yes, but I had said that I was inviting Amedeo Minghi, and then I even said that because it cost too much, it wouldn't happen anymore. I didn't mention it again. The friend from Rome, who likes me and knew it was a good thing for me, called him. What are you lot arguing about? What are you all arguing about? You are pathetic. More pathetic are those who watch the Minutella show channel and follow it, who have left. I know a couple of people who have left. Now there's Mrs. Giselle, the mother of the 2 little nuns, who acts as, let's put it this way, how can I put it? From Pandan, through all the discontents and discontentments of the little one, I imagined outsiders. They really are stuff, so this is the second and then the third. Even though I revealed it yesterday, when poor Tom, who called on Sunday evening in a context that had nothing to do with the controversy, I was in Spain. I had announced good things, but when the channel was that one, the broadcast, of doctrinal in-depth analysis, this comes in heavy-handed, without any respect towards a minister of God, angry, aggressive, violent. He wouldn't let me speak to say a load of rubbish. That is, that he had the right to know what they had done with the money spent on the first edition of the book. Obviously, Giselle is behind it, because when Giselle was with us and kissed my foot, which there are witnesses didn't want, because these are people without any balance. This goes from kissing my foot to going on television programs to speak badly of me, making up lies. If that's balance, and some follow the Minutella show, sort it out yourselves. Right, I don't know where I started to say all this. I don't remember. More anyway, it fitted. Right, it was there, especially because this morning, we received news of a statement from the diocese of Cefalù. Right, so Cefalù is a very well-known tourist location with a beautiful cathedral. But the bishop, you don't even know there's a bishop. He really doesn't know how to spend his days. He gets on the nerves of the priests, the faithful, to always hold meetings, etc. So since he had nothing to do, he issued. It's not really clear why. A note Bishop Giuseppe Marciano on the position of Fra Celestino della Croce is truly one of sympathy. And it's the quintessence of madness. Total. Why is he making the declaration to me? And he's forbidding Fra Celestino from going into the territory of 𝐶ephalo. I'll read you the pastoral reason that the bishop gives, and then you can have a laugh. Grab a coffee and have a good laugh with the Bishop of 𝐶ephalo. Here I invite the parish priests to give warning, so they'll put the microphones there, like when Toto made the film Arrived in Universal Judgment. Do you remember that? So I say, vicars, get the trumpets out. Friar Celestino has arrived. You are ridiculous. You are all ridiculous. I have repeatedly said this work is by the Madonna and Fra Celestino. Now I believe, no one can doubt it. As he sees beside me, it could never be otherwise. Proceed and survive if there wasn't the presence of heaven. But the funny thing is that the parish priests, let those who frequent between Celestino della Croce and his activities, everyone here, be warned that this is what it is about. Of behavior dangerous to the integrity of their faith. Brother Celestino. The bishop says, poor thing, I didn't know in what other way to attempt a certain notoriety. You know, Bergoglio is dying, you never know, a new rope team, and this one becomes Archbishop of Washington. They're sending him there because what do I know? Because he condemned Brother Celestino. Why did he condemn him? He condemned him because people must remain whole in their faith, because this barefoot man wearing the habit is like us who have him next to us. I, for one, might even hold his funeral one day. I can vouch for that. He lives by the rule that this one goes straight to heaven. Someone asked me, Father, don't you ever say Brother Celestino has flaws? I don't see any. I haven't seen any, so you can't ask me for one. You'd embarrass me. What might I devise? I see none. He's got them. Certainly. But the spiritual battle that we all have to fight, he has carried forward. So here it brings to mind St. Paul's words, which I'll send to the poor bishop. There's a bishop in 𝐶ephalo. Write to him. He needs a certain notoriety because he doesn't know what to do all day. A problem for the bishops of large dioceses who hold mega rallies and no one goes. Imagine the bishop of a small diocese like that of 𝐶ephalo, which however is prestigious and doesn't deserve a bishop like that one there. And so I was saying, St. Paul says, don't you know that we will judge the angels? St. Paul says so. And therefore, bishop, be prepared, because you too have harmed the holy of a man of God. I'm telling you, I take responsibility for what I say, but most of you can testify to it as well, those of you who live by the Franciscan rule. Then maybe this unfortunate bishop has Franciscan priests, and I could name names, who precisely cause scandal, who are found in a car having sex with a woman. And I've said it, all right? They found a Franciscan in a car, not in the habit, of course, in fact, completely, never mind. But the police found out and said, what are you doing here? You can't do that here. Documents. Got it? Documents. Ah, Father, congratulations. Got it? Got it? And the bishop? And they silence. And it's Bergoglio's style that condemns Don Minutella. Got it? And pardons Father Rupnik, but condemns Father Enrico Bernasconi and protects Monsignor Zanchetta, who condemns Father Ramon and protects Cardinal McCarrick. That is the style. It's the style of the Bergoglians, disciples of Satan, lieutenants of the devil. The bishop says, with this declaration, he is in the very clear diabolical explication. He is in favor of Satan, someone who is preventing Brother Celestino from announcing the gospel. My God, Lord, when will you intervene? But do you realize? There's a bishop preventing Friar Celestino della Croce from proclaiming the gospel. Better the priests, got it? Of Amoris Laetitia Trust Supplicans pro LGBT, the ecology, the environment, all religions are the same. I slept in a small town in the Spanish hinterland last year, this morning with 8 to 9 degrees. You think we've gone from the temperatures, African ones of Andalusia, to these a bit more seasonal, let's say. And this morning anyway, despite the cold, I went for a walk. It gets light late. Here I am, by the way, next to a school. And as I was walking in a very, very small town, small, quite small, I found an enormous yoga center. Acupuncture, Reiki, it's apostasy. It's the people who don't go to church. It's the bishops. Instead of, you understand what times we're in. It's Satan, there's Satan. People don't understand it. It's a come that they're still there discussing. What will become of the church? Who will be Bergoglio's successor, if we go on about Bergoglio? Because even the matter of the illness is absolutely trivialized. Even that, as I will say now. Sorry, I'll say it straight away, but one that they communicate on the same day. You tell me if I'm wrong. I appeal to whoever is right, to whoever uses their mind, even if you hate. Don Minutella, at least say what the heck about it. I mean, but is it normal that they notify you about an 88-year-old man with a resected lung, a good part of his lung? They announce that he has bilateral pneumonia, which is the worst there is. I mean, is he there to die? And then they tell us, after only a few hours, that he's eaten, slept well, sent messages left, right, and center. I mean, honestly, who are they trying to pull the wool over? Even the affair didn't happen. This with Wojtyla. Who do they think they're kidding? Throughout the same day, news alternates. We pray for the Pope, because there is no hope against all hope. It seems that it is love. What's behind it? To all of this, someone who's ill and it's serious, it's serious. You can't sit down to eat. Do you think someone with double pneumonia can have an appetite? You tell me, I'm not an expert. Does it seem right to you that someone who has double pneumonia, who can't breathe, who has to have a blood transfusion, and then they carry on eating veal, that hamburger? What did they give him? But really, look, it's all a continuous narrative until the end because it has Satan's imprimatur. And the Bishop of Cefalù, who is preventing Fra Celestino from going to preach the gospel in Cefalù, demonstrates that anyone who is with Bergoglio belongs to the imprimatur of Satan, but that Satan lets them escape in union with our Francis. You are mine. In union with our Pope Francis, you belong to me. This is the devil. In union with Pope Francis, the 𝐥'𝐿 of the Mass, solemnly in the cathedral, in union, we offer you, Lord, this sacrifice. What does Father do? Tempa? That's what Father Tempaberg does. But for the love of God, do you understand? I recommend that the faithful of the conclusion of the bishop, I recommend that the faithful of the diocese, but they are really looked at. We need to find a T. I recommend that the faithful of the diocese remain firm in their faith, but they are not wretches. But they're not people who would immediately deserve divine condemnation for being. But why doesn't the Eternal Father intervene? I'm beginning to wonder, because evidently here, then there's the mockery of consciences at stake. Right? This document, the archive that we have, will preserve it, because one day all this will bring shame on these people. Today I considered Friar Celestino, as I did St. Eusebius of Vercelli. You know that St. Athanasius would be me. In this case, I was targeted by everyone every day. I was, as has happened even now, yesterday, the day before yesterday. I get it from all sides. I am the devil for many, as you know, without them holding out a hand to save me, so they leave me to my fate. Thank you. They are willing to forgive Pope Francis, but not Minutella. The 𝐴𝐻𝐿, that's what they're set to do. And I'm also referring to someone unsuspectable in a suit and tie. You'll see how it goes. You'll see how it goes. You'll see how this load of rubbish eventually ends. I was saying they are willing to forgive him. Sooner or later, Pope Francis. Or say 4 spadefuls of earth in the face. Finished with Pope Francis. Let's turn the page. But actually, no. Because there is a magisterium that contradicts the gospel. Yesterday, I made a post and got it in the neck from the Bergoglialis because I spread hate. But I made a statement. I said that Pope Francis, an incontrovertible fact, has built a church beyond the apostolic one. It is no longer the church founded by Jesus Christ on the foundation of the apostles, because Bergoglio has signed documents that openly go against the gospel. The bishop says he doesn't realize. He doesn't notice the shortcomings that are happening, but it's a system. Evidently, I must tell you the truth, the Madonna is looking after me. Say, he holds me well, he holds my hand on my head with the sky. St. Philip Neri. Why does this church make me so suspicious? I must be honest, I am being honest with you. Try to understand me and pray for me. Let me clarify. There's a system of governance. That worries me. It worries me about the possibility that everyone does whatever the heck they want. Then, the important thing is that officially and publicly we do what the Pope says. Because you don't touch the Pope. So Pope he isn't. He's a heretic, he's an apostate, and no one wants to say it. Why won't anyone say it? Because am I the idiot showing off? And it's not mafia. Isn't the mafia system. This is the system of the mafia. In Sicily, the mafia has gone on like this. There's a system in which basically, what am I supposed to do? What can I do? But you pay protection money. You, the delicatessen owner from Brancaccio, you pay. So what can I do? What can I do? The mayor. But didn't you organize the march? How come you scorned it? And what can I do? But the Carabinieri commander discovered that. And what can I do? And slowly, right up to the highest echelons, what can I do? No one does anything, and the bosses were in charge. Now I ask you, dear children, don't you think it's the same criteria? In Roman Catholicism, it seems so to me. That is, it's the ecclesiastical mafia, worse than the lay mafia, that's pushing the Bishop of Cefalù to murder Fra Celestino della Croce with revolting blows. And everyone's keeping quiet because, do you really think the priests in Cefalù, but also the ones in Paolo, don't know Brother Celestino? Don't you think some Sicilian priests know Fra Celestino is well known? Who is Brother Celestino? Why does he go on? What is he really saying? How is the gospel lived? And so on. Why are they silent? And what can I do? And what can I say? And so on. And it's the mafia system. Maria Vescovi. And what sort of church was that then? What have we believed in? May the Lord assist us. Because is it truly a scenario? Paluzzo, but now we're pulling ourselves together because the title of today's episode is Apostasy. Please direct it. Right, the title won't die with Bergoglio, you'll see. The apostasy will not die with Bergoglio. So, by the way, I'm putting the two things together, but before I do, as it's Tuesday, I'd like to remind you that this evening at 9 p.m., there's the catechesis on the prologue. I was forgetting it. By the way, important, today is Tuesday, there it is. The post, share on the YouTube channel where you have to subscribe, put likes. The 7th part in the evening is an important episode. Last time I spoke about Dalmatia. Today is an episode in which we will meditate on verse 13 of the prologue, and they are very important. I'll be expecting you at 21 hours to take a moment to breathe in the face of everything that surrounds us. At 21 hours, on the YouTube channel, the book, if you like, you can find it available in its first edition. In the first edition. On the YouTube channel, it's in the secretaries. Back to us. The title said, so this evening at 2100 hours, apostasy will not die with shame, you will see. So, I'm linking this situation to what the media have been spreading these days. With the latest affair concerning Brother Celestino. So, and I'm doing this in connection with the word of the Lord. This is so that we can be given courage. Jesus in the Gospel of Luke in chapter 21 says verses 10 onwards, it's the synoptic apocalypse, said to them, nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be earthquakes, famines and pestilences in various places. There will also be terrifying events and great signs from the sky. But before all this, they will lay hands on you and persecute you, delivering you to the synagogues and prisons, dragging you before kings and governors because of my name. This will give you an opportunity to bear witness. That is, this should be the other way around. Let me explain. Would the measure taken by the Bishop of Cefalù, that you see, make sense? He was looking for a bit of notoriety. If Brother Celestino were the one saying the things that Bergoglio has said and done in recent years. It should be really, you see, Fiore Maria? I mean, the bishop says to Falù, let's put ourselves in a situation of normality of minds, because here there is now an alteration of minds. Fiore Maria, man, they are waiting for artificial intelligence because now man is completely senile. I mean, the human mind is completely altered. Fiore, be careful. Don't argue with anyone in the street, because they won't think twice about making you get your hands dirty. People are we're at the dehuman. They were expecting transhumanism, ladies and gentlemen, and here you have dehumanization. Then the condemnation of the measure against Brother Celestino would have made sense. If Friar Celestino had gone around, like so many Franciscans have done in the past, saying to gay couples, all right, I'll bless you, but the church, all right, don't worry. God forgives, the Lord gives his grace. There's a Sicilian proverb, a bit heavy, but I'll tell you it, with fate. God forgives everyone, and that's the slogan. If Fra Celestino had this motto, then yes. If Fra Celestino had dressed like an Italian father, who doesn't remain punished instead, and who, if he comes to Cefalù, can say Mass and confess. Understood? An Italian priest who says that for him the virginity of Mary is a myth, it's not important, who puts the two lesbian Madonnas in the nativity scene, can come to Cefalù to say Mass and to hear confessions. Friar Celestino, no. And why Brother Celestino, no? For Fra Celestino proclaims the gospel, and now is the time of the anti-gospel. For Brother Celestino is of Jesus Christ, and it's the Antichrist's time. Because Brother Celestino is in the true church, the one of the small Catholic remnant announced by the popes. And instead, on the other side, there's the anti-church of the Antichrist. Will you be hated by everyone? All of this would have made sense if Brother Celestino had been, in times of normality, an announcer of the Bergoglian heresies. Instead, Friar Celestino cannot enter Cefalù to preach and announce the gospel because he announces the true gospel. These days, the bishops allow the announcement of the gospel, not of Jesus Christ, but of Pope Francis. Got it? I guarantee you it won't happen, that if a pope called Pius XIII were to come along tomorrow, the bishop himself said that he would suddenly make Fra Celestino vicar general. Because these are court pimps, terrible people who knows which circle of hell they risk ending up in, because there's the intention. Make sure of the things I'm telling you, because I'm not one to speak lightly. As it may seem, they intend to do what they do. The bishop says, does he knows that he mustn't sign that document? He knows that Brother Celestino is a saint. He knows that he is condemning him unjustly. He knows that it isn't right in the eyes of God, and yet he signs it, and then he ends up in hell, if he doesn't repent. And Brother Celestino, in the meantime, wins paradise, not alone. Naturally, that's obvious. What a situation this is. Got it? Yes, we're going to Spain to meet about 30 people with sacrifices in hand to announce and remain faithful to the gospel, the unicum, the unum evangelium Jesu Christo. Brother Celestino is prevented from entering Cefalù, but if Father Vaticano goes there, and perhaps, I don't know, Bishop Paglia or the boundless Parterre, perhaps Cardinal Fernandez will go there to spend a day with the priests, the clergy day, you understand, with the priests, to talk about trust, supplication. That's the situation, dear children. But apostasy does not die with shame. Jesus adds, you will be hated by all for my name's sake, but not a hair of your head will perish. Through your perseverance, you will save your souls. Oh, right. Well, then now let's get back to the matter, which is currently the main issue. But how is Bergoglio? Truly. What is happening? This worsening after Trump's victory in America. Fancy that? No, it's all connected, and quite strange. Who trusts Pope Francis? Who is willing to believe that he is a sincere man, not two-faced, who doesn't lie? Who's willing? Right, shall we reconstruct things a bit, as I said just now, the matter? As you know, my position, mine, I don't know about the other brothers of the association. I've made it clear. I'm asking for him to die. I ask that he lives, and I won't say a single prayer for him, because I know it's no use. I know this man has been the worst heresiarch of the 2,000 years of Christianity, because neither Arius nor Luther would ever have dreamed of sitting as heretics on the throne of Peter. He did it. He was placed there knowing he was being exploited by the Sangalo Mafia and global powers, without a shred of remorse, indeed, with a relish for suffering. Why didn't he go to Argentina? There are matters that concern him. I should like to read in that regard what Monsignor Vigano writes and says. This is a statement from yesterday. The contradictory news about Jorge Mario Bergoglio's state of health casts certainly our 2025 dedicated to the Rosary, crackling, and who knows, even more. The contradictory news about Jorge Mario Bergoglio's state of health is precisely saying that. One day, they tell us that it is a case of bilateral pneumonia. For an 88-year-old man, it's a very serious thing, an exposure to death. How is it possible that then, after a couple of hours, we are told that he has eaten and slept well? Does that seem reasonable to you? In a good mood? At a push, in a good mood, at a push. He's getting ready to meet his lifelong dream. He finally sees it face to face. He simply cannot wait to see him, to be warmly embraced by the very person who says, "You've done your job exceptionally well." Who has persecuted Bergoglio? If one had to calculate who is among the real antagonists of Bergoglio, let everyone have their say. Work out who was the first to be condemned, and how he was condemned, with how many characteristics he was condemned. And perhaps much should be understood. No? So this one here, who is Bergoglio? False Pope, there's a widespread act. The cardinals praying in St. Peter's Square. Bagnasco is also there. I hope that those who have committed themselves in these years also to abandoning us. But then who knows why I'm telling you these things and provoking anger? Perhaps because I'm the only one who speaks the truth. Call a spade, good brothers. There was even Cardinal Bagnasco. What a disgrace, Bagnasco. He knows the truth. He knows it. Even other cardinals who don't know it. And yet, they pretend that nothing is happening with this whole situation. Anyway, regarding the contradictory news about the health of the so-called Pope Francis casts disturbing shadows on the management of Vatican communications. Some claim the Pope is dead and hidden. Look, authoritative sources. I don't believe it. I've thought about it, and I've sided with Brother Celestino. Because last night, with a couple of phone calls, it was mentioned to me, I'm in Spain, where it seems the matter is completely irrelevant. I mean, the people here couldn't care less whether Pope Francis lives or dies. In Italy, it's Italy. But some people are saying that he would already be dead, and that this would already have happened with Pope Benedict as well. And there, I perhaps believe it, because they announced it on the 31st of December. But there are suspicions that perhaps he was dead. Anyway, he's right. Vigano, there are those who believe that the Pope has already died and that this is being kept secret. It is clear that the Vatican and the Bergoglio Deep Church are in a panic and will do everything to gather the support of the cardinals around some name that carries forward the Bergoglio revolution. We have for years, first of all, compared to Monsignor Vigano, been there saying that that is the Church of Satan, that Bergoglio's election is the work of the St. Gallen Mafia, that Pope Benedict XVI did not resign, and that Bergoglio's successors will carry on, in their style, especially the next one, the work of dismantling and destroying the Catholic identity, if there are then regime bishops like the one of Cefalù. Who is stopping Brother Celestino, a holy man, from announcing the gospel and leaves the doors open for heretical apostate priests of Bergoglio to enter? There are those who have every interest in burying their own crimes along with those of Bergoglio. While in the United States, there is a head-on clash between the American bishops and the Trump administration, after the scandal over the funds of the Agency for International Development brought to light the complicity of the Catholic Church in the immigration business. That is, Trump has made it known, he's opened the inquiry, the American bishops are all there worried, and so they're going against Trump. Not all. We need to prevent the progressive hierarchy from securing a successor to a Bergoglio. Oh, and here we have the specimen of the little remnant. But why didn't they agree? Today, all simpler. And ages ago, we could have said, carry on with your circus, you Bergoglioites, since the Catholic Church here, in the small part that hasn't, because it hasn't bent the knee before the false prophet, Bergoglio. Instead, no, they expect a change in the very structures themselves. But how can structures that are not of divine foundation, such as the College of Cardinals and the Conclave, resolve the Quaestio Magna if they are themselves corrupt? Is anyone wondering? We need to prevent the progressive hierarchy, which is the majority, because you know that if the traditionalists and conservatives have to be of the someone of Bagnasco's caliber, you understand that nothing comes out. Most are progressives, Bergogliani. Before hammering the final nail into Bergoglio's coffin, it is therefore indispensable and cannot be delayed that light be shed on the usurpation perpetrated by him and on the occupation of the Catholic Church by a corrupt and treacherous hierarchy, whose sole purpose is to destroy it from within. I'm sending a message to any bishops who might be listening to us and know us. The time has come for you to help us too. Don't leave us alone, for the love of God. I'm not saying it for us. I'm saying it on the sacrifice of the brothers, the last of whom was Brother Celestino. I'm saying it because it's in everyone's interest. It's in God's interest. It's in the interest of the Holy Virgin that you don't leave the sodality, the priests of the sodality, alone. Bishops that you still have, that under the counter you're helping others. Pay attention to who you are helping. There's a wise bishop available to wonder, not Bergoglio, but this smear campaign so fierce towards Father Minutella, what it's hiding. The time has come, in this 2025, for you to understand consciously that there is a reality, because now no one is forced to say these things that I said first and for years. This is incontrovertible, irrefutable as a fact. And yet I've been left alone like a dog by the bishops. Whereas Vigano has his contacts and says, why didn't he want to meet us? Well, you sought Williamson's blessing, yet the battle is common. Why didn't they see? Perhaps God. Have you seen how I spend my time praying? While I'm driving, the rosary came out. I'm thinking, I'm in my room, in my personal hours, and then I'm there praying and finding peace, because I say, I don't know about you who are following me today in this big episode, but then I say, but it could be that it's God who wants it like this. You understand? Because it's unexplainable that there hasn't been a bishop who has contacted me in these 8 years. No. We have had relationships with bishops, but they have remained, in particular, one hidden. He didn't want to come out, you understand? No bishops backed us. What is he turning off? I appeal to some elderly bishop, 85 years old, 90 years old. Save your soul, enter into the history of sainthood, and help us as God inspires you. Or maybe God doesn't. God does not want contamination with the false church. What you're about to hear, I've been saying for years. Listen to what Vigano says. Listen and tell me if it isn't Minutella that he's praising as well. Speaking on Vigano, the machinations of the infamous St. Gallen mafia continue. Who first mentioned it in Italy? 2 excommunications? 2 in the same act. I've been thinking about my dad a lot these days. Because of what he said to me when Bergoglio lifted the 2 excommunications, when he hears about Bergoglio, it brings to mind my dad's words. who said to me sorrowfully, "But why did the Pope take away your habit? What bad thing have you done?" Dad, I said he's not the Pope, but you were born a priest. You were born a priest. He couldn't understand it because, rightly, I was his son. He couldn't understand it because he says, "But you're a little priest. How can you be more of a little priest?" He's taking this Bergoglio with him. And I take responsibility for what I'm about to say. I take it. One of the first things the Eternal Father asks him. See, the maneuvers of the St. Gallen Mafia, the unpunished crimes of Theodore McCarrick. Do you know everything? The pedophile cardinal, unpunished crimes. It's not shameful, Bergoglio. It's the worst thing that could have come out. Now there are the friars, the nuns. These friars and nuns must be confined to the convent. They're like piles, hidden away. These friars and nuns, we see them on their knees in front of Pachamama, and then praying for Pope Francis's health in the convent. In the convent, the nuns, they're like piles. They shouldn't be seen. They do damage as soon as they can. Giving with the little bags, Sister Francesco with the little bag. To pray there to Pope Francis? Why pray for them? Why? What are the nuns praying for? Who go there to Gemelli? Look at the final madness. You're asking me about the bishop, the American cardinal, extremely powerful, who has committed irreversible damage. His role within the democratic administrations, the influence he exerted in the appointments of his heirs, all homosexuals and corrupt, designated to hold key positions in America and in the Vatican. McCarrick's work with the Chinese communist regime is already when he sold his family. The Bergoglian Church sold the underground poor church at its helm, and it makes one weep. Bishops and priests in prison for their loyalty to the Pope, who see themselves sold out by the one they perhaps think is the Pope. And they don't go back because there's the Holy Spirit that supports them. And they say that the Pope hasn't understood this thing. The bishops, the detained bishops, the Pope hasn't understood our battle. He'll get it soon. But they don't go back like us from the sodality. What a situation, dear children. We weep between the vestibule and the altar. The priests weep and say, "Spare, Lord, spare your church." The role of the Jesuits in promoting the globalist agenda. We remember the now it seems also disappeared, Cardinal Hellerich. Let us remove the first chapter of the letter to the Romans. But look, this one goes to 𝐶epheLu, to the impoverished bishop who wanted a bit of a jump, and he welcomes him into the diocese. The cardinal who says Jesuit, because the Jesuits are at the service of the globalist elite, that we have to remove the first chapter of the letter to the Romans, because St. Paul condemns sin against nature. The appointment of a notorious exponent of the LGBT and transgender agenda, Father Roberto Pasolini, as preacher of the pontifical household. The president of the Pontifical Institute for the Family, the notoriously heretical man, Monsignor Vincenzo Paglia, who together with Zuppi could find nothing better than to say that the 194 is a good law. It's total madness. It's the end times. My children, there can be no doubt. The scandalous cover-ups by Bergoglio of abusers and notorious perverts, he's talking about that one there, always him, a Jesuit, even what's his name, Rupnik. The burying of the dossier on the corruption network in the Vatican, handed over by Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI to Bergoglio in April 2013, has remained without any follow-up. I presume Vigano is referring to that team. Of the cardinals who have died, only one has remained alive, of the 3 cardinals. Let's see if I remember their names. So they should be. So De Giorgi is the one who is alive. He's the Archbishop Emeritus of Palermo, a cardinal from Apulia. Then there are 2 others, I can't remember their names. Tonko, there he is, who I also spent some time with, Cardinal Tonko, and what he said to me once, he says, "You'll see the years ahead, 2010 to 2012. Then the other one, I can't remember, he was Spanish, I think, and they did some work for Batilix. And those things there to deliver to Pope Francis, what, by the will of Benedict XVI, was a dossier of clarification of the situations. Left without follow-up. Bergoglio's role in the crime perpetrated against humanity with the pandemic and the imposition of the jabs. 19. The cynical exploitation of illegal immigrants. Now, if they shut us down, it shows we're targeted first. Because others can freely say it on YouTube. As soon as we say it here, the cynical exploitation of illegal migrants aimed at the destruction of the social fabric. The West. Bergoglio went there to Lampedusa to throw flowers. You Italians, you don't have children. Welcome the migrants into your homes. Note, in the above text represents a pause of approximately 0.600 seconds, except for the pause after of illegal migrants, which is 0.290 seconds, to total roughly 6.89 seconds of silence overall. Your immigration, this is... All this and more confirms that the Bergoglian Church is not only complicit in the subversive plan of the World Economic Forum, but a leading protagonist. On all these matters, the faithful have the right to know what the truth is. Despite Marciano, Bishop of Cefalù, after years of lies, of dissimulations and silences, she would have done heaven a favor too, if she'd taken us into consideration. In my opinion, it's a big mistake that she ignored us. But she says that after years of lies, dissimulation, and silence, it is necessary to acknowledge the fraud of Jorge Mario Bergoglio. We kept this fraud afloat, paying for it personally. It's painful to see that no one acknowledges it. It's necessary to acknowledge it and bring it to trial. That is the request. Before he dies, but I fear, in fact, I am convinced that Monsignor Vigano's appeal will unfortunately remain. And the custom, that is, he asks that before Bergoglio dies, a trial should also be brought. It must always have happened over the course of the centuries. Bergoglio cannot get away with these crimes. In plain sight of everyone. It's not that Vigano tells him because he is an enemy of Bergoglio, as the mainstream would have you believe. These are facts. So he demands that Bergoglio be put on trial, restoring truth and justice. They demand it. Bravo, Monsignor Vigano. He is truly to be commended for this. The victims of his reprisals demand it. We are here too, of his intimidating acts, of his connivance in the crimes of his instigators and his protégés. Investigations are required. Here I really don't feel I can sign off on that, because I don't know about these aspects. Further, what Vigano does, but I read them because he wrote them. He did. I force myself to read. Investigations are being imposed on his past life, on the crimes committed in Argentina, radio for which he never made a trip to his country. Christmas. Don't know. Why us and him be worried? But it comes naturally to wonder. And on the murky affairs that would see Jorge Mario Bergoglio responsible for sexual abuse. I had only heard this once, but I understand. I understand it, and I pray for him, because he says that he is about to die now. There is a papalization of the death of a heretic. There is the attempt to canonize him while he is still alive. Never would the newspapers, the televisions have moved to speak as they are doing of Bergoglio. And so Vigano goes in hard, rightly so. It's only right to do so. These ones will be saved. Then in paradise we'll extend a hand, seeing as on earth there was no way, not from my side. Because if Vigano had called me, I would have gone. Everyone knows that. I am a man of dialogue, despite appearances to the contrary. Because as von Balthasar says, he who has firm principles is a man of dialogue. So he would have turned sexual abuse of young Jesuits back when he was master of novices in Argentina. I mean, the unfortunate Bergoglians who dredge these things up, he's not one to understand them. I've always defended him on that. The only thing I pointed out is that he had himself reconsecrated as a bishop and puts everyone in the same boat, including Benedict and Wojtyla. and we cannot tolerate that. Just a moment, though, for the rest, in essence, it's all there. It's not as if Vigano is making it up. He's not doing, what do you call it? What's that thing called when you make the news, the scoop? No. If Vigano says that Bergoglio is responsible for sexual abuse of young Jesuits, it means it's true. He's not making it up. Vigano isn't one to make things up, just to say something. He's not one to carry hatred. He's not an enemy in the sense of... Classic, in the sense of the term, is the position that differs from ours, but he speaks the truth about the times when he was master of the novices in Argentina. It must be clarified whether Tomasito Ricardo Arizaga, known as Tomasito, who died on the 20th of July, 2014 at the age of 11 years, cremated and buried in 2019 at the Teutonic Cemetery in the Vatican after having his teeth removed, is actually Bergoglio's son. As has been rumored for too long and as multiple elements suggest. This is the first time I've ever heard that said. I'd never heard it before. What can I tell you, if you ask me what I think? Perhaps this seems truly like a scoop, but it's a matter of fact. Because anyway, Vigano carries the name of a child. Name, surname, date of death, age, procedure, cremation, burial, Teutonic Cemetery in the Vatican, without teeth, so that teeth can become a way to know the truth. An international criminal alliance has joined aversive forces to eliminate Benedict XVI, forcing him to resign and replacing him with an emissary of globalism. So, my dears, I'll tell you the rest of Vigano's speech. I refer you to your reading. Apostasy won't die with Bergoglio, that's certain. We must always be battle-ready. And the bite of the snake that the Bishop of Cefalù prevents Brother Celestino from confessing and preaching in the diocese. It's a sign that apostasy has settled in well in the Vatican and that it will probably continue its march. I remind you this evening, and so we pray the Holy Rosary, please, the 3 rosaries every day. Sign up if you have not already done so, to the Perpetual Rosary, because now more than ever we need to pray the Rosary, and in the Brotherhood the Rosary will save the Church. The Rosary keeps us safe from this madness, from this general insanity. I'd like to remind you that this evening at 9 p.m. we'll be taking a breather with the Gospel of John, the Catechesis on the Prologue, Part 7. We'll be commenting on verses 12 and 13. Don't miss it. Share it, share it, share it at 9 p.m. on the Radio Domina YouTube channel. Now you can call for this for other news. Meanwhile, remember to support the project, because I need to go and enjoy my holidays, like Valentina Negretti, as she pointed out yesterday. So you need to help me, otherwise, how am I going to do it? There it is, the IBAN, the postal current account, the PayPal. I thank all those who regularly make themselves available to help the Radio Nostra project, which lives thanks to your support. There are loyal people from all over Italy who regularly go to the counter to help the project. And this is truly what, as you can imagine, allows us to move forward.